Good evening and welcome to True Dugman Encounters. I'm your host, Marvin Allen. If you or anybody that you've known have had a sighting or encounter and would love for me to share it on my channel, then please contact me. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, like, comment, and share. As you all know, I'm trying to upload as many encounters as I can. I have so many, I just ain't got to it. As y'all know, I did have death in the family. So I'm still grieving and trying to move on from that. If anybody out there would like to come on my live stream and share some encounters, paranormal, you name it, we cover it all. Get in contact me and we could set up a date for when you want to come on and talk about it. As you all know, anonymity means a lot to me, and I breaks that for no one. That's why so many people love giving me their encounters, because the one thing that I'ma do and always do is whatever they tell me, then that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna break that for nothing. And I respect and I'm grateful for each and every one of my eyewitnesses that have shared their encounters with me. So without further ado, let's jump right into this encounter. Now, before I get into this encounter right here, my eyewitness said that he had had this sighting over 20 years ago. And he never shared it with anyone until now. He said he held this in for so many years. The nightmares, the waking up in sweats, the scared to take trash out, scared to go back to these state parks. He said it messed him up in a lot of ways. So now, let's get into my eyewitness encounter. My eyewitness said that the one thing that he loved doing was fishing and hunting. He always did that all his life. So he said he decided to go fishing one weekend. And he said the best time to go was, really early in the morning when fish are biting. I didn't really understand because I'm not a fisherman. So he said he headed out to this spot that he always go to. So we get down there. He sets everything up, put the bait on, and he throws it in. Now, mind you, he has a boat, but just this day, he decided not to take it out. So he casts his reel in, and he sits down on this little crate he had. And he waited to see if he would get a bite. Said time would pass on, then all of a sudden, something hits the reel. Starts reeling in, caught his first fish. Puts it in his cooler. He throws it back in again. Time pass on, nothing. More time pass on, nothing. He said after about 45 minutes without catching another fish, he noticed something that changed for when he first got to this spot. He said he noticed that everything got quiet. I mean, dead quiet. He said you couldn't hear nothing. So he's standing there and he said, this is odd. He said, I don't hear no insects, no birds chirping or nothing. So he paid it no attention. Continued to try to catch more fish. He said after about 10 more minutes is when he heard something on the other side of this lake. He didn't know what it was, but he heard something. So he listened to try to find out what it was. He said that's when he heard crack, 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 crack. He said he could hear something walking on the other side of this lake, but he don't see nothing. So he scanned the other side. He hear these footsteps, but he don't see nothing. So he continue to scan over on the other side. He said that's when he caught some eye shine. And he said that this eye shine was way up off the ground. He said, and when he caught this eye shine, he followed it. And then all of a sudden, poof, it was gone. Whatever this thing was, it moved behind this tree. So now he getting nervous and now he's getting scared. So he decided to pack up and get up out there. So he started packing up, so he could leave, because he didn't know what he was dealing with. He didn't know what was on the other side of that lake. So as he finished packing up, he started to walk down on the side of the bank of this lake, because that's the way he came in. So he walks. He said as he started walking, that's when these heavy footsteps started walking again. Boom, crack, boom, crack, boom, crack, boom. This thing is keeping up pace with him. So he stopped. He said, and when he stopped, whatever this was on the other side of this lake, it stopped with him. And he turns to his right and he looks over there. That's when he can see these bright eyes and this dark silhouette of a shape starting to take form. So he say to himself, what the is that? He looking at this thing. He said, that's when he hear this thing starts to growl. And he said to himself, man, I gotta get out of here, because I don't know what I'm dealing with. I don't know what that thing was. This is the stuff that's going through his head. This is the stuff that's going through his mind. Because out of all the years that he has been down here hunting or even fishing, he never, ever been afraid of what was on the other side of that lake. So he continued to walk again and pick up his pace. That's when the footsteps started again. He walking fast. He's trying to make it to this trail so he could just boat. So as he's walking, he gets to this trail. And then he stops again. He looks back over on the other side of this lake. He said that's when he noticed that those eyes and that figure was a whole lot closer to the bank of this lake. Now he know that this thing is closer. And now he can start to see what this thing really looks like. So he stares over at this thing. He said he could see ears sitting straight up on top of this thing head. He said he can see that this thing had a snout like a dog or a wolf. Now, mind you, it's still dark, but it's starting to get light out. He see the snout on this thing. He could see that this thing is wide and it's broad. And he know that this thing is massive. Because he looking at it and he trying to estimate the height on this thing. And he took a guess. He said this thing had to be about 8 feet tall. He said as he's staring at this thing, he walks backwards up this path. He said just when he started to do that, it's when this, what he called now, this creature starts to walk in the water. He's still walking backwards, but he watching this thing. He keeping his eyes on this thing that he don't know what it is. He's still walking backwards. This thing's still walking in the water. He said all of a sudden, he see those eyes just disappeared. They was gone. But he know this thing was walking in the water. He said he turned around, dropped everything he had, and he boated. He said he never ran so fast in his life. He never been so scared in his life. Made it to his truck. He got in, started it up, and he got out there. He went home. Now, mind you, he always go to this lake because he don't live too far from it. He said that's when this took the turn for the worse. He said he gets some sleep. He wakes up the next morning, goes out, and he smokes a cigarette. And then he walks around to the back of his house. He said before he could get to the back of his house, he noticed a strong, foul odor. Now, mind you, he don't know what it is. He said, but he couldn't. He said the smell was just horrendous. Raw flesh, meat, urine, all that combined. He said he couldn't even finish smoking his cigarette. So he goes back in the house. He stays in there all day long, still pondering on what he saw. So he said later that afternoon, he watches TV, but he can't get his mind off of what he saw. Nighttime come, said he getting tired. Said he goes in his room and he lays down. He said when he lays down and just about to doze off to go to sleep, boom, boom, boom. He hear a loud knock at his door. Gets up, goes, peeps out the peephole, see nothing. Goes back in his room, lays down. Said no more than about 30 seconds, boom, boom, boom. He hear another knock, but this time it's at the back door. Gets up, goes, looks out the little window he had. He sees nothing. Now, mind you, the first thing came to his mind is little kids and, playing tricks and knocking on his door, and all of a sudden, he didn't know what it was. So he goes back in his room again. He lays down. Boom, boom, boom. He hear the knocks again and is back at the front door. He gets up, he start cussing. Mother, I'm telling y'all, stop banging on my... He said he gets to the door. He looks out the peephole. And he say, what he saw like to made him on himself. He said he saw what he could only describe as a werewolf. He said now he looking at this thing through the peephole. And it's standing at the bottom of the steps. And it's looking right at him like it know that he's looking at it. He gets real quiet. And he said, now I know what that thing was at the lake. But what effed this head up so bad was, did this thing follow me home? How did this thing know where I lived at? So he watching this creature from out the peephole. He said that's when he see it walks to the end of the house. And he could see it as it's going round the side towards the back. He leaves from there, he goes back to the back door, he looks out. And when he looks out, he see that creature just walk right past and continue to go all the way around the house. But when it stopped on the other side, boom, 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 it bangs on the side of his house. Now he's scared, he don't know what to do. Now mind you, he has a gun in the house. Because he's a hunter. He has a gun in the house. So he goes back to the front door and he looks through the peephole. That's when he see this creature come round again. And when it comes round again, it stops right there in front of the house. And then it turns and it walks. It walks across the front lawn. And then it stops and it turns around. He said, and when it turns around, said this thing let out a loud howl. He said it let out a loud howl that it know it shook the neighbors. Now, mind you, his neighbors was about a half a mile apart. He said he know that howl shook them and they had to hear it because he said it was loud. He said he grabs his gun, he cocks it, he goes back to the front door and he opens it. And he points that gun in that creature's direction. He said, but while he was standing there aiming at this thing, the only thing was going through his mind was, this ain't gonna kill it. This ain't even gonna hurt it. He said that's when this creature, it bluff charged him. He said, and when it did that, his reaction just kicked in. Boop, 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 boop. He said he just started dumping, shooting. He said he know he hit this thing. He said because as he was shooting, he could see this thing left shoulder flinch. He said it flinched once and then it flinched twice. He said then this thing stopped. He said when this thing stopped, said this thing let it out a mean, loud growl. He said this thing looked like it was pissed, looked like it was mad. He said it let out that growl and then it started to look at him. He said, but for some reason, this thing looked like it had a smirk or a smile on his face. Like it gave him the impression like, I'm gonna get you. With that smirk and that smile. He said, so he's staring at this thing. And that thing is staring right back at him. He said that's when this creature started to take more steps towards him. He fired 2 more rounds. Boom, boom. Striking him once down where the leg area at, like the thigh part. Is that what you would call it? But they was just so massive. This creature stopped again. He said, but what effed his head up again? He said when that bullet hit him down low on the leg, he said this creature had to be intelligent. This creature had to be smart. He said this thing looked down. He said this creature looked down at where it was shot at. And it looked back up at him. He said it gave him that smirk and that grin again. He said that's when it turned around. He said this thing just took 2 leaps and then and just took off. Just took off. He said, but what really effed his head up is when he go back out there the next day, He don't see near drop or trace of blood. None. And he know he hit this creature. He know he shot it. But not to see no blood. He's saying, what the F is this? You shoot something, this thing should bleed. It should have left some droplets, but it left nothing. He say weeks would pass. He would get the bangs on the house. Sometimes he would hear walking on the roof. Sometimes he would hear the doorknob jiggle. He said he'd never been so scared in his life. And he held this in for so many years. He started doing research on this creature and to find out that they was called Dugman. He said he was driving one day and he was just about to get to his first neighbor house that's live in his neighborhood. And she waved him down. She had stopped him. Said he pulled up in her driveway, got out, and he talked to her. He said, anything wrong? She said, no, I just wanted to ask you, have you seen any kind of large dogs around here? He was like, large dogs? She said, yeah, they've been running in the back on my property and through my yard. She said, these is big dogs too. They not little, they not small. These is real big. She said, now I'll be scared to take my trash out and stuff like that. He said, well, take my number, and on days like that, just call me and I'll be sure to come down and do those things for you that you can't. And he said that he felt a little bad because she lived by herself and he knew what was lurking in these backwoods. That's the first encounter. I hope y'all like it. Getting ready to upload it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Like, comment, and share. And I'll see y'all on the next True Encounters.